Technical difficulties.
I guess I guess the intro missed y'all. It was trying to come back. Um, Welcome everyone
Yes, to
to
another
our
week.
this is episode 3, guys. We're doing it. Episode 3.
Thank you so much for being here. We appreciate you. This is Ainoa.
This is Amanda. Don't forget to like and subscribe to all of our platforms. You can find it on any of our pages, how to like and subscribe to all of them. So, also, I just want to say, guys, tonight's story is is a big deal only because we see a lot of this and it's not really addressed all the time. Tonight we're going to be talking about battered spouse syndrome, the Jema Donahue story. I'm not sure how many of you know about Jema Donahue, but before we get into that, I want to explain a little bit that for me, this story is really, really important. Some of us come from situations in our past, domestic violence on many different levels that you don't know how to explain to other people how important it was that you got away. And not everybody understands what that means, what that feeling is, how scary it can be, even years after. Um, when that person, tries to find you again or tries to get back in your life or things of that nature. So this story hits home for me personally because of my past, and I'm not going to dive into all that or anything. Maybe someday we'll do an episode on it. Hopefully it's not about battered spouse syndrome because I don't want to go to jail. Um, I mean, I really don't want to go to jail. I wouldn't survive, y'all, except for the fact that I can braid. I
I think it would be just fine, to be honest with you.
I don't know if I should take that as a diss or a compliment, so I'm gonna say thank you and just move forward.
It's really a compliment. If I go to
Um,
jail, I would like you to come with me to protect me.
oh, yeah. See, now I don't know why, but in my brain just now, I was like, "I can make a shank," but I don't really know how, guys. I don't I never took the class. I didn't sign up for that one in college.
Listen, we can watch each other's back in the shower if we do go to jail together.
I don't think girls have to worry about that as much.
Maybe, I don't
I
know.
don't I don't really know. I'll reach out to Gemma, y'all. We'll find out. Okay. Maybe she'll contact me back. After I send her our story on her. Um, so for those of you that don't know, Gemma Donahue, um, by any means was a regular American woman. Eh. However, when Gemma Donahue was young, and I'm gonna stop calling her full name, Gemma. Okay. So when Gemma was young, she was very, very sheltered. Um, she was homeschooled, and we're gonna bring up a couple pictures of her. She was homeschooled until she was in 6th grade, y'all. So think about your formative years and your social skills and learning how to, talk to other people, get along with other people, things like that. She missed all of those formative years of development because she was homeschooled. So she already kind of had that awkward, shy, to herself kind of image. Okay. And then when Gemma was 13, only 13, she was SA'd by a man in his 20s. So part of her beginning stages of being a teenager, she had already been SA'd and had to deal with what happened there. Also, when that happened to her, um, she was really scared and she didn't want to talk about it. She didn't want to deal with it. And her mom made her report it. And I'm not speaking ill of her mom. At the end of the day, there is a lot of issues and complications there when it comes to the relationship with her and her mother. But on most accords, y'all, my opinion of her mom is that she's a ride or die, because we'll get there. We'll get there, but her mom is a
She
ride or
is.
die.
She
Uh,
truly is.
and so when that all happened, when she was SA'd, the person that did it to her he was convicted, but he was also only sentenced to 120 days.
Yeah, and
So,
at first the police didn't actually want to, you know, charge him with anything. Because
yeah, they were kind
yeah,
of brushing it off like, "Oh, she
they were, and
this
then the mom
girl."
ran her over, right?
Right.
Ran him over, sorry.
Yeah, no, and that's one of the crazy things about this is, you know, as you're gonna hear throughout this story, her mom does come off as very
Protective.
overbearing.
Yeah.
Okay, so we don't both kind of have different opinions of it. She says protective, I say overbearing, but I will say, like, I don't know. I mean, I have a mom like Gemma, so I know my mom has my back 190. I was gonna make up a weird number. I'm sorry, y'all. 100%. I'm just gonna leave it 100. I was gonna say 192%.
So specific.
Very specific. Point 0.7, 192.7%, guys. Um, my mom's gonna yell at me later if she watches this and say, "Well, why couldn't I have a 200?" So anyways. So you know, after this happens, Gemma, the whole town, of course, knows that she was SA'd because this man gets 120 days. Gemma returns to school and she was bullied like crazy. And I know a lot of us, especially as females in our teenage years, go through this where you're called all these names because people have found out that you may have been sexually active and things like that. So it was really
Slut
hard on her.
shaming, right? Slut shaming, so because that
Yeah.
was very yeah, back then.
Did you go through that?
Me, I was a little angel. Well, I'm not sure. Nobody no.
Listen, I went through that before I even lost my virginity.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
I was actually
I was
quite
slut shamed bad too, and I would just be like, "I don't even know what that means."
no, I mean, I wasn't a little angel, but I was, very sheltered and I stayed to myself a lot, so nobody really like, I flew under the radar. Nobody really you know what I mean?
See, I couldn't fly under the radar because I was like one of those fighter kids. Like, everybody in the school knew me because I was like beating up their boyfriends.
Mhm. Not me,
So,
I was a total introvert, like, if no, I don't wanna talk to you. I just wanna be here and go back home and watch Pokemon.
I liked Pokemon too. I actually have a Pikachu behind me. Um, but okay, so yeah, she was slut shamed bad, and then to top it off, at 16, Gemma got pregnant. So like, she got pregnant with her son when she was 16, and then she didn't have her daughter till 3 years later. So we'll get there. Um, so at 16, she had her son, and then Gemma went off to college because although she did have her son, she wanted to still better her life and make a good life for her and her children, and at the
Yeah,
time it was just her child. So all she could think is she didn't want her son to think that he wasn't capable of doing these things. So she went ahead and went to college. While she was in college, um, someone had reached out to her, and I don't remember exactly, and maybe you do, I know of, but I don't remember exactly who was that reached out to her, but someone she knew reached out to her, a mutual friend, and said, "Hey, I know this guy named Javon. He's being released from prison. He needs an address to use as his home plan in order for him to be released."
mhm.
And so Gemma was like, "Okay, cool. He can use my address." So when Javon got out, he came to her house because, hey, this nice, beautiful girl is letting me use her address. So let me go see what the life like this is about. So he shows up there, and of course, slowly a relationship forms. Well, I say slowly, very quickly, a relationship formed because she went from not even having a boyfriend to having a man live in her house, and while she was going to college, he was the one staying at home with her kids.
Yeah, I mean, as a single mom, that had to be some comfort though, that she
Yeah.
had somebody staying home with the kids. Mm, to a certain degree, do you know why he was, I don't think they ever I don't think I heard, why he was in jail in the first place.
Assault and battery with intent to kill with a weapon against an individual.
Maybe not the right person to leave at home with your kids. I don't know. This is just me.
Yeah, but and you gotta think, especially as females, and I don't wanna say that females are dumb, but females are more often blinded by love.
Mhm.
And Gemma was the kind of person, because of how she was brought up and what she went through, where she wanted to see the good in everybody. You know, she was so badly talked about and treated so badly growing up by, people she didn't know, that all she wanted was everyone to see the good in people. And I get that as someone that has a past of dating people from prisons. I always wanna see the best in everybody. I'm like, "Yeah, no, I know he murdered 7 people, but they deserved it," you know? So no, I'm just kidding, y'all. I've never, yet dated an axe murderer or anything.
I feel like
Um,
she was very intrigued by his upbringing, right? Because like, he grew up poor and
yeah,
dysfunctional
and
family.
she grew up middle class, and,
So
they didn't have it all, but they had enough.
yeah, so maybe she felt like she could save him. I
Well, and I think it was a mix of save and somebody needed to give him a chance, like she felt, because she got when she went off to college, she got this scholarship that helps her pay her bills as she was going to college.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so I looked a little bit into that, and that's why she had chose this college, because she wouldn't have to work full time, go to school full time, and still try to take care of her kids. So I think that a part of her was grateful that she was given that second chance to get an education, and thought, you know what, he deserves a second chance also. And listen, beyond his past at the time when he came home at first, he was really good to her. You know, he love bombed her. She fell completely and utterly in love, and I get it, especially after the life she had lived where she had been sheltered. Her mom kinda held her captive, and then even after she had her son, her mom didn't want her to leave. So, um, but as we move forward a little bit, you know, um, even before they got married in 2011, Javon had already had a documented record of choking her. And you see the pictures of them on the screen. You can tell that they were in love in these pictures. Um, so, she really believed that he only knew how to show love through violence because of what he had been through in his lifetime. So she would allow some of these things to try to happen. Um, she had tried leaving multiple times, and every time she would leave, he would either convince her to come back or he would forcefully make her come back. Um, and she reported multiple times over the years that even when she didn't want to, he would constantly SA her and then called and bragged to his friends about it. So when you have gone through SA earlier in life and then you go through it again as an adult, especially with someone you think cares about you, it takes a toll. Um, and then to sit there and listen to them call their friends and say stuff like, "Well, nah, I just took it because she wasn't giving it up." For the
yeah, no
friends to say something to him then, it's then like, "Oh, great, I'm surrounded by these narcissistic people."
yeah, no, and it makes you feel really tiny, really small, like, it fucks up with your, image of yourself, with the love that you have for your like, you lose any sense of love for yourself when you
Well,
know
and
that you
logically,
shouldn't be there and you allow it to happen. Like, you allow yourself to be in a situation because you don't see a way out.
right, right. Well, even on top of that, like, I don't know about other people, but when I was going through my situation, in my past, even though I could see that there was a way out, a part of me felt like at that point, and this hurts me to even say now, is that I was being a bad wife by wanting to escape the husband that I was blessed with. And I felt ungrateful, and I felt like, if I do this, if I walk away, God's only gonna bless me with one. Um, and so I felt like, I kinda needed to suck it up and deal with it because clearly God wouldn't have put me in that situation if he didn't want me to be there.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad that I wisened up and got away before I was on this podcast as a guest instead of a host. Um, but y'all, if I ever show up as a guest, you're gonna know why. 'Cause you're gonna hear my story. So, um, anyways, 2017 rolls around, y'all. Um, so at this point, we're pretty far in. They have been married at this point for 6 years. Um, Gemma decided that she needed to get away. She could no longer take it. So she filed a restraining order. And as you can see on the screen, there are multiple things that had happened. He like right here on the screen now it says that she was slammed into a refrigerator. Um, and these things were happening to Gemma on an almost daily basis at this point, and she was afraid for her and her children's lives. So she filed the temporary restraining order on him, and it was for her and her family, and that family included her parents. However, Gemma did have her own place. So the restraining order was filed, and looks like it was March 4th, 2017
Yeah,
was
I heard that it was, after this happened, like, a few weeks right before the incident, and I heard that this restraining order was filed because her daughter had to call 911, because he was waterboarding her.
ooh, okay. I actually didn't have that information.
Yeah,
So
he was
think
waterboarding
about
her
how scary
mom.
that is.
That is really scary for your children, for you, I mean, to
So, and
waterboard
let's see.
somebody. I don't know.
I'm trying to think how old that would make her daughter at that time, but my brain isn't mathing right now.
My
Um,
brain is never mathing. Math is not
um, but yes, this didn't happen long before the day happened. I mean, because this was on March 4th, 2017, that the daughter called 911, and it was April 14th that the incident began.
yeah, so not long at
So,
all.
um, this is about to get very graphic. So I just want to put that out there for those of you that are paying attention, or don't like to hear this. This could be a trigger warning. So I just want to say that. On April 14th of 2017, Javon broke into the home. This is after the temporary restraining order was already put into place. Um, he broke in. They started fighting and arguing back and forth. Javon had a gun. Um, and while they were arguing back and forth, and he was starting to kind of put his hands around on her, like push her around, he tried to shoot the gun, and it jammed. Um, he hit Gemma over the head with the gun, and she fell. But as she fell, she grabbed the gun. Um, and she shot him. Now these are this is the accord that the sorry, the accord. The record that I'm giving you is the record that Gemma says. So I can't prove any of this. I don't have, I'm not a CSI agent. I don't know if anyone knew that, but I'm not. I don't work for the FBI. I don't have like inside information, but this is Gemma's account of what happened. So, um, and so she shot him. And then there were two more times in that struggle, in that tussle, that Gemma says that somehow she shot him again. Now, mind you, anyone that's been in this kind of situation, and I haven't, y'all. I've never shot someone that I remember. So
You did not sound too sure about that.
I know I said that out loud, and then I was like, I don't think I have. Like, I'm trying to. No, I'm just kidding, y'all. I think I would remember that. Well, or maybe not because of the trauma. But in any kind of hustle or struggle or things like that, what I do remember is I remember being in physical altercations with significant others. And during those physical altercations, all I can remember is like main points of the events, not everything that happened. Even still to this day, I can remember incidents like the incident that made the whole thing happen or the big part of the fight or things like that. But I can't remember how many times I might have swung back or pushed somebody away or things like that. So, um, with that being said, she shot him two more times in the struggle. Then, um, Gemma called 911 and hung up the phone and walked outside and sat on her porch. Gemma's mother, and so this part I don't remember, and I know maybe you do. Did she call her mom or did her mom just stop by?
Her mom came back home. She stopped by. She didn't call her mom. Her mom just happened
Okay.
to come
I
back
just
home.
remember that her mom arrived, saw Gemma, and Gemma said, "Hey, we gotta call 911."
Yeah.
Um, and her mom looked down and saw that the police kept calling back.
Yeah. And
And we actually have a clip of her mom on that phone. So let's go ahead and play that clip.
Hello?
Hi, this is Johnson County 911. We received a call from this number. Do you have an emergency?
Oh, no, sir. I'm sorry. It was an accident.
Okay. There might be an officer that stops by and talks to you just to check on you.
Okay.
Just so you know, okay?
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
okay, can I just say something here? Her
Yeah.
mom sounds super fucking calm, okay?
Scary, right?
It's
Because
fucking
her mom at
scary.
this point, when she answers the phone, is inside the house and can see that Javon has passed. So, whew.
And past
Listen,
like this
but the flip side of that is go mom, because I don't know if I could be that calm in that situation. And then for them to be like an officer might come by, and the mom's just like, okay.
yeah, no. I mean, and I think I think she was so believable that they were gonna send a cop, but they probably didn't because they were like, "Ah,
Well, and they
it's gonna
probably
be
had other
nothing."
things going on in the town. So why
Exactly.
use the resources if such a nice lady said, no, everything's fine?
Exactly, and I mean, she knew this man was dead. Like,
Oh, yeah. Like there was blood all over.
yeah, like,
And she had walked into the house and saw that already.
yeah, we have the forensic evidence from, the CSI person that did the analysis of the gunshot wounds, and, I mean,
Yeah.
he
So we're
was
going to pull that up now
he
because
was
these are the
shot up,
different ways he was shot. Yeah.
like, under here, and then through here, and then see, through, like, right here, the shoulder as well. I mean, oh, and the back of the head. He was also shot in the back of the head. So he had one, two, three, four gunshot wounds.
So, and that's one of the big things that I was reading about that was a bit of controversy over this is because Jema claims she shot him 3 times, but he had 4 gunshot wounds, including one in the back of the head, which makes it seem like that would have been a final shot when he was
Yeah,
already
like
down.
execution style type of shot.
So,
Yeah.
and there are theories about that. So, if anyone gets bored and they want to dig down the rabbit hole, there is a Jema Donahue conspiracy page on Facebook that I found
Oh,
where
really?
people are saying that Gemma's mom took that 4th and final shot to secure the bond with her daughter that they both committed this and both of them were at fault and things like that. I don't know how true that is. It's never been proven. So it is all alleged. However, it is on that Facebook conspiracy page that that final shot that shot they think came from the mother. So
I'm not gonna lie, I kinda believe that. I think maybe she shot him 3 times, like she says, right? Because she doesn't remember
yeah,
the
why would
4th.
she lie? She's already
And
busted. So
and I think when the mom came in to finish him off, shot him one more time in the back of the head because maybe he was still breathing. Like, you can get shot in the mandible. You can even get shot down here, and if it doesn't enter the brain, you can, in a certain spot, like, if it gets stuck somewhere, the bullet, that is, I mean, you can still technically live. Um,
how do
so
you know that? What kind of research do you do? Do you do?
I plead the fifth. Can we just move on? Yes, thank
Yeah,
you.
sorry. Okay. So, again, at this point, Gemma is sitting outside, completely
Mhm.
crushed. And that's just my opinion. I don't really know that. For all I know, Gemma could be a horrible person. But how I portray the situation, only because I feel like I've been in a similar, not a I've killed someone situation, but in a similar relationship background. She just killed the man that she loved for the last 10 years.
Yep.
Even if she absolutely hated him, that had to take some kind of toll on her. So at this point, Gemma is sitting on her front porch and she is zoned out. Um, the police never came. At that point, Gemma's wonderful mother decides that this must be a gift. The police didn't come. Nobody knows. Let's just hide the body.
Nobody knows.
Right. Well, and listen, I get it because you don't get like life doesn't ever work for me like that. Like in my listen, if I call 911 right now and hang up, I promise you there's going to be 6 cops at my front door in 3 minutes. And
Probably.
and I'm going to be like, "My bad, it was an accident." They're going to say, "No, we must investigate your home now."
And then they'll probably charge you for calling 911 and,
Yeah, they'll find me or something.
yep.
I
No,
just I don't have Gemma and Gemma mom look. Um
I mean, but was it
so
luck really? Because that's kinda really what messed them up, the fact that I honestly think they should have called the cops. I think
right.
the cops should have gone because technically it was, she feared for her life. So, I don't know. Mm,
But and that it's probably a really hard situation because even in a situation of self-defense, you still took a life.
true.
And that's the scary part for me. Like, I don't think I could ever take a life if it wasn't absolutely necessary. But the flip side to that for me is also I took a life and now I have to live with that. Because I mean, I don't know why I grew up very hippie-ish, but I got Catholic guilt, man. It runs naturally in my body somehow, and I always say it's because I'm Irish, but I don't know. I think I got it from my grandma. She was like the most guilt-ridden person I'd ever met in my life. I don't think it's hereditary. Um, but anyways, y'all, they didn't report his death. They
What
just
did they
went
do?
on. So they called up a friend, and
I think Amanda froze, guys. So they called up a friend. His name was Rick, and he came over. They had wrapped the body in plastic or a tarp, I believe. I'm not exactly sure. And they took him out to. Oh, there you're back. Here.
So just so you know, I don't know what just happened with our StreamYard, but we were both talking through that. So in the follow-up recording, y'all are both gonna hear us talking. Because we were both just trying to make sure the story was still going. She thought that my camera stopped. I thought that hers stopped. But that is just something to do with our podcast server, and we will get with them tomorrow regarding that. But so I don't know how far I know it just got in the story. But what I was saying is, finally 6 days later, an anonymous tip came in.
Okay. I said that their friend Rick came in and that the body was in a tarp. So Rick didn't actually see the body. The body was just wrapped up in a tarp or a blanket or whatever. Came in to get his body and take him to the farm, which is like, I guess, like the trap house back there.
Right. Well, yeah, and that's what the anonymous caller told police is, "Hey, Javon's dead and he's buried on the farm."
Yeah.
So I know that we have some pictures about where he was buried.
Yeah.
So we'll
See,
show those. This is the farm. Um, well, and what's weird to me is do you have any speculation on who the anonymous caller is?
no, but it had to be somebody that was cool with.
I think it was Jema.
You think it was Gemma?
As much as I hate to say it, I think that Jema felt guilty for everything that happened and thought that maybe if she reported it that she would feel some kind of closure for what she had done.
I mean, it's possible.
Because
Yeah.
I don't feel like Gemma was as cold-hearted as her mother was.
How many holes did they have to dig? Because this is if you're watching us and not listening to us, this is the aerial view of the farm before they
Mhm.
went into the farm. And there's like various diggings here. Like, listen, maybe I'm lazy, but if I'm gonna bury a body, I'm only digging one fucking hole. Like, I am not
Right.
digging multiples.
Maybe there were multiple bodies there. Maybe the farm
No.
is where you take bodies to get rid of them. Anybody have the address of the farm? I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding, y'all. I'm just kidding.
Mm.
Um,
You sounding a little suspicious. Suspicious. That's not even a word.
I think you're just supposed to say sus.
Oh, whatever. Suspicious. There you go. Continue.
Um,
Never mind
so
me.
I don't say sus anymore. Now I just say, hey, you're acting real P. Diddy. So
So like pedof. Okay, never
well,
mind.
he's suspicious. So, anyways, so there an airplane went over the farm just like she showed us, and there were like a lot of fresh dug holes. So when they got to the farm, they asked Rick, "Where is this kid buried?" And he talked. I mean, because he only kind of knew what was going on, but he also knew he wasn't part of the murder. And from what I understand, because he cooperated the way that he did, he was not charged. Which I
Okay.
kind of disagree with, but
I
and I don't
don't.
care who you are. Listen, you not fixing to roll up to my yard with something the size of a body in a tarp and drop it in a hole, and Imma just sit there and be like, "What was that?" And you're gonna be like, "Oh, I'm burying a coffee table." Like, come on, man.
I'm saying that I don't think he was being a good Samaritan. Why should he go to jail? He didn't do anything but help him out. And the thing is, you have to understand, like Rick, he knew about the domestic violence that Gemma had gone through.
Yeah.
So in his eyes, he's like, well, he fucked around and found out. I mean, I don't know, but I don't think he should have gone to jail. So I'm happy that he didn't. If he didn't,
Well,
I
and
don't know.
don't we have a clip of Rick when he was talking?
Oh, yes, we do. Let me go ahead and
Pull
play that
up.
for you guys.
Weekend on Friday, I got a phone call. It was his wife and Jema, and I was under the understanding that I had to go help remove her husband
from the house.
Well, she said that he was roughing her up, and she thought he was going to kill her. She said that he was dead.
To the resident.
That was her mom.
So right there, you can hear that, Gemma is the one that called Rick,
Okay.
and that he did know about the assault and battery and that she defended herself. But he also states that Gemma's mom is the one that drove the truck. So
Yep.
I'm telling you, man, her mom's a ride or die, but not, I don't know if it's a good way or bad way. I do know that when all of this started to unfold, and Gemma was arrested, her mom immediately was like, "Hey, I'm the one that hid the body. I buried the body." She
Yeah.
immediately wanted to take responsibility for her part of it. She actually wanted to take responsibility and begged Gemma to that she would take responsibility for the death
Mhm.
because she wanted to protect her daughter just as a mother does,
Yeah. And I think it's because she carried a lot of guilt from when Gemma was young, right? I mean,
Right.
Gemma asked her, "Don't say anything about the assault that she received when she was 13 by a 20-year-old." And her mom didn't listen to her, which caused her to have so many issues in school with bullying and stuff like that, and it ruined their relationship. So I feel like Gemma's mom had a lot of guilt and she wanted to make up for it, if you would, if you will, like
Yeah,
help
and
her,
that's
got her out.
the biggest thing that I wish people would just reach out to mothers after they have a teenage daughter or about the time they have a teenage daughter and say, "Listen, you did your best. You've tried your hardest. They're going to be who they're going to be regardless." Because
Mhm.
mothers harbor so much guilt for things they could never change.
Yep.
I know my mom harbored immense guilt for the things that she had no control over that happened to me as a kid. And there was no way for her to fix it, to change it. She could have done nothing different. It was meant to happen to me for whatever reason, and my mom could have done nothing about that. But I know that she harbored so much guilt for it. And it made me feel horrible to see her go through that, especially now as an adult. And I don't have children. So I can't speak on that intense, gratifying love and that toxic relationship that people have with children in general. My close friends, they have kids and we talk about those things. And especially, my friends that they have teenagers and stuff like that. So I get calls all the time that they're just like, they're just so ungrateful and da da da. And I'm like, they're kids, man. Like, I don't have kids, so no, I don't have to deal with the emotional turmoil that those things put you through. They're not things; they are things. They're disgusting. Um,
One of the funniest things from being a mom and having a teenager is that you get to see how stupid your lies when you were a teenager sound. Like when my
I
kid
remember,
lies to me, I'm like, man,
I
stop.
remember, I had my sister at one point got a hickey, and told my parents that she ran into a tree. And I don't
No, she didn't.
and
How did
all of
she
us,
run into a
even I
tree?
knew it was a lie, but I was like, "How did you run into a tree like that? Like, walk, 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 smack, like, with your neck just right there." Um, so it was absolutely hilarious, but I used to do like, I would sneak out, and my mom would be like, "Well, what'd you go do?" And I'm like, "I just snuck out and walked around the neighborhood." "Really?"
Mhm. No, yeah, I realized how stupid I probably sounded to my mom when I was a kid, but yeah, no, parents, we harbor some guilt. My mom does, I do, we all do because we're not perfect and we make mistakes. And, her mom the same way. So she tried to make up for the mistake that she made when Gemma was a teenager. But
Listen, that's crazy. So I mean, and just so y'all know, like, so as they're investigating this stuff, like they go into Gemma's house, they find that Gemma and her mom cleaned up the best they could. But you can see right here in the picture with the luminol all lit up, how much blood there really just was around the scene.
yeah, and this is a
Um,
lot of bullets. How many bullets? That's I have a question. If he
3,
brought the
6, 9,
gun,
12, 15. Yeah, if he brought the gun, then why did she have the bullets?
yeah.
I don't see, and I go really back and forth about this, guys, because I want to believe Gemma because I've been there. And you know what? Even if he didn't come after her that day, I can tell you that, and never mind. I don't want to say what I was going to say because it would sound like a confession for something I haven't even done yet. But I can understand because of the situation from my past relationship that the moment should that time ever come, the moment he crosses that threshold into my house, I think I would react because I know what's going to happen if he walks through that door. Um, but listen, not only do I live in the mountains and I have like pet bears outside,
Mhm.
but I got bear spray inside. So, if I don't know if anyone knows, but bear spray works like 3,000 times better than mace. Um,
Yes. Yes, apparently it does. I had somebody,
I
sprayed
thought you
bear
were gonna say
spray
I
in.
had some. Like, I just tried
I
some
had
yesterday, it
some.
was great.
No, I went to Goodwill one day and everybody was running out because somebody decided to spray bear spray inside of Goodwill.
Yeah, man, it'll take out a whole Walmart if you spray some bear spray. Everybody will just start piling out. It is very strong stuff.
It really is because I was standing outside away from the building. I hadn't even gone into the Goodwill, and soon, like, from the doors opening, I started coughing and crying, and I wasn't even anywhere near the front door.
So were you
So
crying because of the bear spray, or were you crying just because you were emotional that day?
I didn't get to shop at Goodwill.
Right. 'Cause I didn't get to get the shoes I wanted. I'm just kidding.
They
Um
ruined my day. No,
So
but
it's
yeah.
a really hard thing because, like I know I said earlier, this man was shot once in his shoulder, once in his jaw, once under his chin, and once in the back of his head with bullets that were at her house with a gun that he supposedly brought.
Yeah, let's take a look at those pictures just one more time.
I mean, yeah, look at these different directions.
I can see that this one's maybe a warning shot, from far away. She shoots to tell him, hey, don't get any closer. The one in the shoulder, perhaps.
Right.
But I don't know. I don't know, Amanda.
So then Gemma gets in the interview room with the police. And we're going to take a quick look at that.
Okay, let's see.
We clicked it at the same time, y'all.
I don't have any information for you on Ron. I can swear to you, I have no idea where he is.
We look currently involved. We're almost everything. They're going to be self-defense. And they're going to be this vicious, premeditated, calculated, cold-blooded.
And I don't think you are a calculated, cold-blooded person. And I know that there have been several incidents. You're a victim. I love you. How did you get in the house? Through my window.
So right there, I just want to point out a statement that she said, and I'm not gonna lie, it made me tear up. And I know y'all can't see that on here, and that's great. But I'm just gonna be honest with y'all because it hit home for me. You know, she flat said to them, "I love Javon more than I even love myself." And that's exactly what it's like when you're in those kinds of relationships. You know, you put everything you have into someone to the point where you can't even have you anymore because you get lost in it. And luckily, I had a very good friend, that thing over there. Um, I'm
Excuse me.
just kidding. I had a very good friend that was able to ground me through a lot of the things that I went through with that individual. But if it wasn't for those moments where I could call her and be like, I just can't do this anymore, or those moments where I'd call her and you can ask her, I would sneak away to have these phone conversations. I wasn't allowed to talk to her. So, but if it wasn't for those phone calls and then her being there at 2 in the morning for months after I finally walked away from that situation to stop me from going back, then I would have went back.
And I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm like, with those type of situations, I think I was helpful to you, in a way, because I myself had gone through some stuff. Because I remember prior to that relationship, I would have told someone, "Why don't you just leave him? Just leave." Like, I can't believe you're not leaving him. Why are you, if he's so bad, then why are you staying? You must want to be with him. It must not be that
Right.
bad. So if I wouldn't have gone through something after, if I wouldn't have grown myself as a person and gone through things, when that happened, I probably would have been like, well, why don't you just leave him? And
Right.
then you would have felt more alone. You know what I mean? And I think that's something that happens to a lot of women. The outside world doesn't understand, why don't you just leave? You know what I
Right.
mean? So it's not that easy to just leave, just so you guys know.
And it's not. And anybody can relate to that. It's not even a domestic violence thing. If you just easily walked away from any situation put in front of you, no one would ever be together. Because
Mhm.
sometimes you got to work through things and sometimes you have to, you know, deal. But, you know,
And this type of relationships, they strip you from your personality, they strip you from your self-esteem, they strip you from everything.
and they completely seclude you,
Yeah.
and you don't even realize it's happening. Like, it starts with a, "No, we're not going to your family's house for Christmas."
Mhm.
And listen, I remember that first Christmas, man, that thing broke my heart, y'all. I cried like a baby because I didn't get to go see my parents that first Christmas. And, of course, I was, the first thing was, "We're gonna go next year, da 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 da." And they find a way to make up for it. And then before you know it, it's Christmas again and you're being told no. And then it turns into, and it's never like you can't talk to your friends. It's, "Hey, I think your friend is this," or "I think your friend she's messing with your mind. She's trying to make you think I'm evil." Or my case was a lot different. And eventually, I mean, it's public record, so it's not like I'm going to hide it. But in my case, I was told that my friend was that I worked for the feds, and that my friend was my handler. So I couldn't talk to my handler.
Miss
Um,
Agent.
if if I talked to her, that mean I was talking to my handler, and that meant that I really was an FBI agent, and that would mean that everything he thought was real. So, it was an interesting world. Um,
Mhm. Undercover
So,
Amanda.
I did it all for the story, man. I did it all for the book that I wrote. So one of the big things that she doesn't really talk about in this interview, but Jema talks about multiple times in multiple other interviews, is that when Javon came into her house that day, his words to her was, and we're gonna get explicit for this, but that's okay. We're gonna die together, bitch, till death do us part. And she said at that moment she knew that it was her life or his. A part of me believes that, because when people are angry, and I know this from experience, they say really screwed up things. Um,
Mhm.
I went through that multiple times in my past relationship, to the point where sometimes he would even come back and be like, I didn't say that.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I didn't make the whole thing up. Um, but they'll convince you did, or you'll have to just accept that they're saying that you did in order to not get beat up.
I mean, but the reason that she was not believed by the police was because she says that he said that when they were tussling on the floor after he
Mhm.
had already been shot in the mandible, which would have rendered him incapable of actually speaking.
See, and there's little things like that I'm gonna say this. I feel for Gemma because I've been there. However, I don't think that her sentence was long enough. And
I
and
do.
that's coming from someone that agrees with her. I get it, but you still took a life. And see, and I think this is where me and I know is gonna disagree, if you can see her face. But let me finish what I'm saying really quick. I don't feel like Gemma was given a large enough sentence. I don't feel like her mother was given a long enough sentence. Um, and I say that because if you look into statistics, all right, and I did this, I dug.
Hmm.
Um, if roles were reversed and that was a black man saying, listen, she beats the shit out of me, da 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 da, he wasn't going to get 10 years.
No, he
They
would have
felt
gone with
bad
more.
for her. Right. Well, and they felt bad for her. And I get that her defense was battered spouse syndrome. I get all of that. This is my thing, and this is where I'm going to always stand on this. If it really was battered spouse syndrome, you would have called that. And she did call the police, but she hung up. But you'd have called that police. You'd have turned yourself in, and you'd have taken whatever you got from the beginning. But you hid that body with your mom and fought.
Okay, but you have to understand that when the assault happened when she was 13 years old, the police basically disregarded her, told her she was basically made her feel like a fucking whore,
Mhm.
and did not even want to pursue her attacker, did not even want to look for her attacker. So her trust in the police was probably, I mean, not up here. You know what I mean? It was probably pretty low.
No,
And
absolutely, and that means her trust in especially after that man only getting 120 days, her trust in the judicial system was screwed. I get all of that. What I also get is, if you didn't do anything wrong, say what you did. If you were truly defending yourself, say what you, and I completely get where you're coming from, because I feel like it was a justified killing. I feel like the killing part of it was justified. I do. I think that it's weird the bullets were there. I think it's weird. I think there's some weird things about it. However, my personal opinion um is, it wasn't the act of killing him that I don't feel was justified. It was the act of hiding his body that, to me, made the whole situation uncalled for. And we do have a couple of comments coming in through our Facebook. It looks like someone commented, if it was justified, it was justified. And then they also go on to say I say that isn't a good enough reason to not call the police. And so this is just one person's opinion. I completely understand not calling the police only because I would freak out if I did that.
I
But
think
I
she
would
felt
also
guilty.
make that call.
I think she felt guilty because in her court, she does say, she gets on the stand, right? And the prosecutor asked her a question about, mentioned this case being her defense being self defense. And her
Right.
response was, I never said this was self defense. You guys are saying this is self defense. And so the prosecutor asked her, so what is it? And her response was a tragedy. I think
Right.
she feels guilty. I feel like when she
Well,
killed them,
she said
even
in her interview, when we watched, remember when me and you watched, like, I think it was called A Mother's Love?
Mhm,
She said in that interview that to this day, she still loves Javon.
yeah. I honestly think it was justified. I think if not him at one point, I feel like she would have been the one 6 feet under, to be honest with you. Um,
I agree with that, but I can also tell you if she was the one 6 feet under, he wouldn't have only gotten 10 years.
no, but that's because he was the abuser. But I do see where you're coming from. If it was reversed, if this was a black male and a white female, and she was abusing him constantly, and there were police reports, even with all the evidence, confirming that he was a victim of domestic violence, he would have gone to jail for like forever because the justice system is not always just.
Right.
Because it's not right, but the fact that he would have gotten more time when he shouldn't have doesn't mean that she should get more time, you know, when she shouldn't be getting more time.
Right.
But
And
anyways,
y'all, I just threw this up here because I wanted everyone to meet Gemma's mom.
sh-
She
she looks really nice.
Gemma goes on because she doesn't have a relationship with her mother anymore. She goes on to say um this about her mom. She's an evil, wicked woman who is controlling and vengeful. If she has the chance, she will kill me. I'm sure of it. She will bury me like she did my husband.
Yeah, this was I feel like she was self-medicating because this is from the restraining order, right? That she got
Correct.
um right before her trial. Um
Yeah,
and
because and that's also just so you know, at this point before her trial, her mom was still trying to take the blame.
yeah, and she cleared out her like pension in order
Yep.
to pay for her Gemma's bail. But Gemma, she I mean,
But
understandably,
there's a lot of mental health struggle with the Jema Donahue case.
there really is.
Um, and we got another comment that showed up really quick, and I mean, so I understand where Jessica's asking this at, because she's saying, is she always the victim? But that's what it seems like. But I think that at a young age, she got stuck in that cycle.
Mhm.
She got stuck in the cycle of I'm always going to be the victim. I just deal with it. Um, because she didn't know how to take control of her life. She didn't she was so sheltered until 6th grade that she thought that she had to just listen to her mom. And as things went on and things kept happening, it I do not completely agree with the sentencing with Gemma Donahue. I don't think I ever will. However, I empathize with her position because I think a lot of people, I don't want to say a lot of people, I think there are multiple people across the US that have been in very similar situations. But I can tell you that I got out without pulling a trigger. Um, Not to say, and this is just the reality of it, not to say the thought had never crossed my mind because it does. And if you're ever in a very abusive situation, whether it be physically, mentally, or emotionally, and you lie and say that the thought never crosses your mind that that's your only way out, then you're lying.
Yeah.
So, and that's just how I feel about that. I don't feel like I'm the only person that feels that way. I think we actually have one more clip that I want to show you from a detective. Do you know a little bit more about this detective, Noah?
I think he's the detective that was questioning her. One of the detectives that questioned her in her original interview.
Okay.
Doubt that there was physical violence towards Jema from Javon, but nobody deserves to die. Javon loved his kids, and he doesn't get to see his kids grow up, and his kids are missing out on their father. It's just sad.
It's one of those things that will always make you think twice. This is one of those cases that will always make you feel like, dang, you want to side with Jema because she did have a rough life. But we all had a rough life. And I know personally the things that you have been through. And you haven't pulled a trigger.
But I wasn't in that situation. And to be quite honest with you, he had a protection order. He had no business being in that house. Why was he even in that house? There
Because
was no
protection
phone
orders are
records.
pieces of paper.
I
Protection
no,
orders don't mean anything.
I understand, but how do you expect her viewing him coming into the home when he's not even supposed to be there?
So what if I said that I think that she invited him there?
I think that if that was the case, the police would have pulled phone records that showed that there had been calls made in between them, and there weren't.
There weren't calls made between their two phone numbers.
Or text.
Right. But there were calls made. And there were
To who?
like numbers. So they don't disclose. They just showed the phone numbers and they're like blacked out or whatever, but they weren't saved contacts in her phone. So there's things like that I look at, and I only say that because I had an order of protection on somebody before that I then lived with again afterwards. You know what I mean? So sometimes we get order of listen, I've never called them order of protections until this podcast. So restraining orders. I had a restraining order on somebody before. And that restraining order, I then moved back in with that person. So it's really hard because I know that she loved Javon. She still says that to this day. I just don't know the true intentions at the end. And I guess that's the part that bothers me, because you can say whatever you want, but why the hell did she have the bullets? So you're telling me Javon showed up with a gun and the bullets?
No, weren't they all living in that house? In her mom's house.
Order, yes.
Prior to the restraining order. It's quite possible that if he lived in that house prior to the restraining order, he
So
had bullets for his gun. Exactly. I mean, I'm just saying, if this was, I do DoorDash and stuff, you know that. So I go to a lot of houses and there's this sign outside that says protected by Smith & Wesson, right? This is America after all.
I don't know why I thought you were going to say it. I see a lot of bullets. Like, what?
I see a lot of bullets. No. But what I'm trying to say is, if a burglar comes into your home, or if somebody that you don't know comes into your house, breaks into your house, and you shoot them, that's self-defense, right? I mean, because you're protecting your home. No?
It depends on the state, because also if a robber breaks into your house and cuts his leg on your window breaking in, he can sue you.
Is that in California? That's probably in California, isn't it? Or Washington?
No, that happened in Georgia.
Really? In Georgia?
Savannah? I think it was Savannah. It was either Savannah or Augusta.
I don't know. honestly.
in Georgia, man, we're all about our guns here. Listen. We like our guns around here, and we don't let nobody take them away. So that's my warning to everyone that I have bear spray.
I don't know.
And
I feel like she was charged with second-degree murder. The jury, which was mostly male, actually said, "No, this is manslaughter," which only carried like up to 15 years, right? She did 10. The judge said 10. So she's actually up for parole this year. She's up for to be released or for parole. Parole, I think it is. Um, but I think if she wouldn't have taken the stand and said, I never said this was self-defense, this was a tragedy, I think she would have gotten off. And I to be quite honest with you, I wouldn't have disagreed with that sentencing either.
Well, and I think that statement was from the heart. I do. I think that if nobody else loved, because Javon had a really bad childhood. If nobody else loved Javon, Jema Donahue did.
Yep.
Till death do us part.
She was very literal with that, but I don't know. We'll have to see if she gets out this year. I have actually no clue when she's up for parole or if it's already passed. I didn't look that up, to be honest with you.
I think it's 2029.
I thought it was 2024. I thought I read 2024. Me and reading.
Well, she got a 10-year sentence. Oh, well, no, I think that I'm thinking because her case was in 2019. It happened in 2017. Her case was in 2019, but she may be up for parole because you don't always do your full sentence.
Exactly.
So I think I was just thinking the 10-year sentence. So 2029. So yeah, I mean, only Jema knows everything. Only Jema.
And maybe her mom.
I don't think her mom knows everything either.
Probably not. I don't know. I think she maybe does. But
maybe Jema's mom did the whole thing.
I don't think so. But I mean, hopefully if she does get out, I think she still harbors a lot of guilt for what happened. Her children were raised by this man, so they're conflicted as well, so hopefully she gets to get out and mend relationships and start new, which is hard. It's always hard to start new, but especially after something like this, I imagine. I don't know for sure, but I imagine it's hard, right? So there is, if you guys see it on the bottom, there's this little banner. If you are a victim or a victim of SA, you can. That's the hotline, and you can also text 88788 to start. Or start
you text start to that number, and that way you can text. And that's also if you're, violence, any kind of abuse you're receiving, you can text that number, and people will help.
Yep. What she said. Don't listen to me because apparently I don't know how to read. I don't know when I got dyslexia.
You text that number and it starts. That's how you start life.
Yep. Just do that.
Thank y'all for logging on tonight. Like and subscribe to our YouTube channel.
Yes, like and subscribe. Thank you so much for listening and watching us. Have a good night. Bye.
We've got it all. So grab a seat and join the fun. In lieu of murder, we're number one.